So I remember making a couple of videos on newsjacking, and I just assumed that everyone knew what newsjacking was until I got a couple of emails where people didn't know what it was. So in this video, I'm going to talk about newsjacking, how to newsjack.
How'd you do that?
I see that success is not something you pursue, it is something you are.
So newsjacking is when you take advantage of the popularity of something or someone else and you use it to advance your own interests. And newsjacking works simply because the story that you're newsjacking is already a story worth talking about, and you're just the person who's doing the talking. The best example, the absolute best example of newsjacking is from 50 Cent. 50 Cent built his entire business on newsjacking. If you know anything about 50 Cent, from the very beginning, there was a rapper named Ja Rule. Ja Rule and 50 Cent were going at it. And 50 Cent was a nobody when he started. Nobody knew who this guy was. Everyone knew who Ja Rule was. 50 Cent started newsjacking Ja Rule. He would basically talk trash about Ja Rule, say all this stuff, and then eventually Ja Rule started talking back about 50 Cent. Now, imagine if Bill Gates is talking about some random person. He's saying, Jane Doe, she's amazing at what she does, and Jane Doe, blah, 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 whatever. People are going to say, who's Jane Doe? Because everyone knows Bill Gates, but they don't know who Jane Doe is. But because Bill Gates is talking about this person, they're now going to say, oh, let me go find out about Jane Doe. That's what 50 Cent did. 50 Cent basically newsjacked Ja Rule, and he didn't do it in a nice way. They were going at it, but still, he basically newsjacked him to where he's now the 50 Cent that everyone knows. Newsjacking works when you do it right. The benefits of newsjacking really comes down to increasing visibility. When you have more visibility, you're much more likely to get hired. But how do you newsjack? I mean, you know, okay, I can figure out a popular story that's going on, and I can put my twist on it and newsjack it in order to get more people to see my videos or to get publicity. So I know I can newsjack, but how do I do it? Well, you have to be very quick. So as soon as a news story comes out, as soon as something comes out, you have to be very quick in responding to it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And once again, 50 Cent is a great example of this. If you go to 50 Cent's Instagram page, look at how he responds to just stuff that's going on. Someone like Floyd Mayweather, where something pops up and he was in his prime, and 50 Cent just bam talks about Floyd. And just in general, I mean, talks about the show Empire. Just look at how he constantly newsjacks stuff. One, you obviously have to go fast, but two, you actually have to download something like a news app, or make sure you're paying attention to news, not just in your industry, but just popular news in general, because that's what you're going to newsjack. So you have to know what to newsjack. So you want to make sure you download an app like Pulse and Google News, another type of app that you can download. Then you take a proven story, that something that people are talking about right now, this very second, and you put your twist on it. And once you put your twist on it, at that moment, you just promote it. Now, what exactly should you newsjack? You want to newsjack anything that's popular. And things are popular because they capture people's emotions. So you want to newsjack anything that's popular, and you can newsjack a lot of annual events that keep happening, events that you know are going to happen. Something like the presidential election. If I was a leadership speaker, I would newsjack the presidential elections like crazy. I would newsjack all sorts of, whenever a CEO gets fired, I would newsjack that. Oh, the CEO of Twitter gets fired. And then I would go talk to producers and say, oh, here's why their leadership was so bad, and here's why they got fired. I would constantly newsjack. I mean, leadership speakers should be newsjacking 24/7. It's really easy for a leadership speaker. With annual events, something like Christmas. I was a sales speaker. I would newsjack Christmas to where once you see the Christmas stories coming out, now I would start saying things like, here's how you increase the sales for your business during Christmas time. So you can newsjack events that you know are going to happen, and you can plan these out in advance. So not only newsjack events that just randomly happen, but newsjack events that you know are going to happen. Newsjacking is really a state of mind. It comes down to understanding what people are talking about and you just talking about it in a more intriguing way.